And we're back with you now on WZBN News. This is Mercer County Close-Up. Any of us, really all of us, could use some comic relief once in a while. And if you've been to comedy shows lately, or even if you haven't, you know it's a great way to spend a Friday or Saturday night, any night for that matter. And it helps get your mind off some things because it brings you some laughs. And, you know, it's a really fun event, especially if you go with friends. Well, one of Hamilton's own has made a second living, if you will, out of doing stand-up comedy, and he started when he was at the ripe young age, if you will, of 10. He is our guest today, and he's got some upcoming shows you might want to even hear about. We welcome Dan Regans to the show. Dan, thanks so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I know that when you were 10 years old, you got up on stage at the Ken Club in Trenton, I believe, and read some of Joan Rivers' material that was popular back then. Tell me about how that all went.
Well, we were at a dinner for my great-grandfather, and they had a live band there, and they took a break, and I saw the mic sitting there, so I jumped up on stage, and back then, the Joan Rivers album was the only thing I really knew about, and I memorized a lot of the jokes, so I started reciting them. Now, granted, these were dirty jokes, and I had no idea what they meant. As a 10-year-old, but I knew they were getting laughs. You know, my parents were sitting in the front row, mortified. Yeah, but my other family members were laughing, so I just kept on going, and from that point on, I knew that's what I wanted to do, make people laugh, because it was such a rush, just getting people to laugh at something I said. Yeah,
I'm sure that, you know, the other audience members, to hear a 10-year-old kid talk about this stuff, some of them might be appalled, but some of them, I'm sure, were hysterical.
Yeah, I think it was like shock, and I think it was, I think some of them probably wanted to laugh, but, you know. But yeah, it was definitely a shocking experience, and I'm pretty sure I heard about it afterwards, but, you know.
So, I mean, that's probably, I mean, to know, I'm sure before you do stand-up comedy, you need to know or get a sense from others that you are funny and that you can make it on stage, and that's pretty much when you knew and you decided to pursue this further.
Right, yeah, in high school, I went to acting school, my junior and senior years, and we did a lot of skits, and I was more drawn to the funny skits as opposed to like serious skits. I always like writing comedy. I've always I enjoyed comedy movies, television shows, so I was always drawn to comedy, and as I got older, I had people telling me that, you know, you're funny, you know, you're good with stories. So I thought, like, man, maybe I could pursue this, you know, stand-up thing. Yeah, we actually have a coworker here who's good with improv comedy, and he's part of a troupe, if you will, that travels around the state. And he just recently finished a show at Mercer County Community College. When you watch people like David Letterman, Jay Leno, I mean, a lot of their opening monologues are about issues in the news. They bring together, you know, what happened, you know, on that day, and, you know, parlay it. They make a spoof out of it so that it's funny. How do you come up with your own material? I'm sure that you use, I mean, if you travel to different places, you might be able to get away with using some of the same jokes more than once. I mean, how do you come up with your material, and what's, you know, an average show like, really? It's really just, I like to do topical. It's weird because, like, I'm on Twitter, I do Facebook, and I like to do topical jokes as well as observational jokes. I'm more of an observationist, I call myself, where I just look at everyday life and I just try to, you know, just try to make something funny out of something serious. Sure. And that's, know, without trying to offend, but you're always, you know, you always run the risk of offending somebody, but you try to keep it all in fun. Right. And I mean, there have even been Simpsons episodes where Homer has, you know, done stand-up comedy. You find that every audience is different. So exactly. That's one of the things. I'm sure that you'll get a lot of laughs, but there'll always be, just because no two people are the same. There's always those people who make you feel like maybe, you know, but all in all, you find that your crowds are well receiving to you. Yeah, and it's funny because when I write a joke, I'll, like, if I write a joke that I think is strong, I'll put it out there and it might not get the laughs, and vice versa. If I write a joke, I said, I'll try it. It gets a huge laugh. Yeah. So you never know. Absolutely. Are you able to share a brief example of one of your opening monologues or routines for us? Yeah, I'll do something topical. I saw Tim Tebow in the news the other day. He taught a pastor how to do the Tebow pose. And in return, the pastor taught Tebow how to throw for more than 100 yards in a game. So, you know, anybody that follows Tim Tebow would understand that. And baseball season's coming up soon. And I'm looking forward to seeing people keeping score at the games. I never understood that. Like, is the Yankees going to call you up one day and say, "Hey, we lost our official scorebook. Can you tell us what happened? How'd you score that play in the eighth?" Right. You know, I just don't understand, like, you know, the fun in that. But to each his own. Yeah, and the payroll for them, I know, is getting shrunk down a little bit. Yeah. They're actually cutting back. Beer is actually going to be, I think, $18 instead of $19. So that'll make up for it. They're actually helping. Yeah. Right. And when you talk about T-Bar, I remember not long ago I was a guest on a sports radio show, and the host said,
regarding the Tom Brady Hail Mary at the end of the Super Bowl. He said that Tebow would have probably been the only one to pull that off because of his religious background, being that it's a Hail Mary play.
I always said if they didn't play on Sunday, he probably wouldn't have the wins that he does have currently. So.
So the Bronco fans, if you get a lot of Monday night games next year, you might bet against them because, it's not really a church holiday. But
don't plan your playoff appearance.
Right. Now, your advice to someone who might be looking at this, whether they're a teenager, maybe in their 20s, considering stand-up comedy as, something that they could do, maybe even full-time, what would be your advice as far as trying to make it in that world?
Get out there as much as you can. Hit every open mic, practice. It's different being in front of a live crowd than being in front of your mirror at home.
Right.
So, but just get out there and never give up on a joke. If you write a joke, believe in it.
Absolutely.
Because like I said earlier, the joke you think is going to bomb might be your best one. You never know.
Yeah, because again, every audience is different.
Right.
Now, your big show, which is coming up, I know unfortunately it is sold out, but it's at the Laugh House in Philadelphia. You also have some shows that are coming up in the foreseeable future that you'd invite people to attend. Yeah,
I have a show coming up. I believe it's going to be the 28th. It's in Philadelphia also. It's at the Philadelphia airport. I believe it's the Marriott.
Okay.
I have to double check, but people... I don't know if I can plug my website.
Absolutely.
You can check out danregans.com. I'm also on Twitter at Dan Regans with an S at Twitter and Facebook. You can Facebook me, and I give updates on all my shows and appearances.
That is fantastic.
And I do Twitter a lot, so if you want a daily, chuckle, I'll try to give you that.
Yeah, the tweets will go out. I actually reached out to Dan via Twitter at first, and then we were in touch, via a phone call. That's how we were able to bring him here. But check out his website, danregans.com, and check out his material, too. There are some examples, and you'll even see what past audience members of his have said, and it's a great show. If you can get to any of the ones where tickets are still available, please do. And Dan, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Dan Regan, one of Hamilton's own, now making it big in the world of stand-up comedy, hopes to do it full-time eventually one day, and of course a lot of people do find that opportunity once it comes. So check out his website, once again, Dan Regans with an S, and Regan is R-E-G-A-N, so danregans.com. I'm Mark Fontes. Thanks so much for joining us on Mercer County Close-Up. We'll see you again really soon.